Today's video is a clip from the past. If you would like to get in on the new video for today, please consider becoming a patron. Patrons get Wednesday's video a few days early. The new video for today will be released on Saturday after my game stream.
A little bit of a deviation from what we normally do on the streams. We've got a special in memoriam kind of thing to Roddy Piper. Rowdy Piper. If you don't know, he passed away recently. And that's a pretty big loss to wrestling as well as cult classics in general, because if you don't know, he starred in a movie called They Live, and this is one of the more classic scenes from it. It's one of my favorite scenes from it, but I figured playing this in memoriam to him it would be a good way to start off today's stream, considering that he passed away yesterday.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Oh.
And I am the godless engineer, a conscious pioneer, a logic general, a reason brigadier. More bullshit from the pulpit. Meet me in the comment section and you get schooled, bitch. The Godless Engineer.
As customary for each of these streams, it's time for Comment of the Day. I've been getting a lot of comments here recently, and it's been quite funny because they've all been very much in support of Atheist Rue, but also this particular comment of the day isn't from that at all. It's from my my video this morning about did Jesus exist, where I respond to a critic that I've had, and he comes with this. Godless engineer, no, it wouldn't be, as consensus is not bandwagon but based upon peer-reviewed papers. It would be a bandwagon fit here were a group like the Truth Group or Sway of the Master. Wow. I don't know, Derek. How are you going to forgive me? Anyways, but I have to say that I'm very, very much pleased with my response, because I said, no, the mere fact that you were using a consensus to state that something is correct is a fallacy. There was a consensus at one time that the Earth was the center of the universe. I guess that's still correct since there was a consensus, and fuck Galileo right in the pussy. Like I said, I'm particularly proud of that particular one because, for somebody to be so, I guess, have such a strong bit of cognitive dissonance that he thinks that he knows exactly how these fallacies operate and then proceed to explain it so incorrectly, because the peer-reviewed research is a pretty big bit of evidence, right? But it shouldn't be because of the evidence, or it shouldn't be because of the consensus. It should be because the evidence supports it. Not just because everybody agrees with it, but because the evidence makes sense. And for me personally, I don't think that the evidence for the historical Christ makes sense. I find that there's a more logical route in a more mythical Jesus, which I don't see why people would be fighting it so hard. Just because, I mean, the religion's still there, whether or not he's mythical or if he's fictional. But at the same time, I'm hoping that proving that he's a mythical person, it'll help shatter some of those Christian bases. Like I hope that it'll shatter some Christian predispositions in people. Be like, well, how can I trust this religion if it's based off a lie? kind of thing, you know? Vileme Cava. Let's see. It's not a matter of proving it. Like Richard Dawkins says, the universe itself seems to point towards a designer. He does not deny that. His problem is people jumping to conclusion and calling the designer God. He admits to design in the universe but refuses to call it the work of God. Therefore, he believes there is an intelligent design, which implies a designer, but still thinks science can prove that the designer is not God, but something else yet to be discovered by science. Yeah. Christina, just keep refreshing. Not sure why it's not coming up for you. I'm not dropping any frames or anything. It seems like my connection's good. Yeah, everything's good on my end, so. Which, I don't know why I'm talking to you if you can't see the video. But okay, so this particular comment is a straw man. Of course, Richard Dawkins doesn't say that the universe points towards a designer. He, at one time, he mentioned that if, you know, if there was a designer, you know, something along those lines. Not that he believed that there was a designer, just the possibility of there being a designer. I mean, just because you say, yeah, it's still possible, doesn't mean that you accept that there is one. So, I mean, he's misrepresenting the argument or whatever. He's misrepresenting what Dawkins said to the point of nearly lying, is basically what it amounts to. Let's see. Brian Hall. Brian wanted my opinion on this, which is going to be pretty straightforward, but you know what I hate about the 10 Commandments of Christian marriage? It doesn't give people options on a particular style of marriage. It's like having the 10 Commandments on how you should eat your eggs and saying you can't cook your eggs any other way except scrambled. You can't have sunny side up or over easy or upside down or poached. God says only scrambled. And don't you dare make it another way or you will burn in hell. Another reason why I hate the 10 Commandments of a Christian marriage is it demonizes an option for most marriages to be 1500s to 1950s traditional marriage. Actually, I would probably narrow that down to just like 1900s to 1950s, because even all the way back as far as 1500s, marriage was very, very different than what people mostly consider traditional marriage. It's a good option, but it's not for everybody. Therefore, it should be one option of many. I personally think if one couple's choose is the man stays home, does clean up, the kitchen cook the food, and everything traditionally was for the woman, I say, okay, not a problem. If the man and woman who are married love being swingers and don't mind having sex with other people and still doesn't get divorced, and then I think it can work. Then I say, okay. I personally do not feel every marriage has to fit in a cookie cutter framework like the like the GD 10 Commandments of Christian marriage. What do I think? Yeah, I mean, I would have to say that you're right. I mean, as long as, you know, the two people in the relationship are complacent in how they want the relationship run, I don't see why it should, you know, affect it. Now, as long as they're not hurting other people, of course, that wouldn't include, you know, a husband and wife tag teaming the daughter, you know, when she's an unwilling participant, she's underage and all that other kind of stuff. But like, I know like Krause and other people have gotten a lot of heat because they don't see a problem with incest. And, you know, I think that if you're, you know, if you're committing incest or whatnot for the reason of having children, I don't agree with that, just because you can have a lot of genetic deformities and whatnot come up with doing that. But as far as, you know, like a brother and sister or whatever getting together, I mean, as long as they're both complacent in it, I really don't see how you can say that that's wrong. I mean, sure, it might not be for you, but I mean, that's relative to you. I mean, if it's not all gross to them and they want to do it and they're taking the necessary precautions to not have children, I think that it would be fine. And it's not that I don't think that they necessarily. I'm just with the whole not having children thing. I think that it's concerning the possibility for genetic deformities and whatnot. I think that it's too great to really justify from like a moral standpoint of having children from an incestuous relationship. Yeah, that's right, Swag Knights. A lot of Christians that they don't even know the definition of polygamy and all other names within it. But yeah. Lounge. Game of Thrones incest seem to cause the odd problem. Yeah, so I mean, take my my thoughts on that, well, what you will. BTI, how dare he call himself the dude? Now this is on my part 2 of the dude fallacies, and yeah, he calls himself the dude, but I don't know, he doesn't really seem very dude-esque. Buddy Jesus Smokes. This guy sickens me even more than Josh Fartstain. I am an atheist that lives by the dudist philosophy. There is nothing doodly about this human parquat. He is way too judgmental of what he projects us to be. I would have to agree with that, buddy. I mean, he takes on the persona of the dude, but I mean, the dude is very laid back and very, you know, concerned about his rug. Kind of thing. I mean, he doesn't really care about you know, how somebody acts in an online sense or anything, other than if it directly affects him. DB, great content, but it would be easier to watch if the volume from the clips was similar to the volume of your mic. These last few have been comments on my dude fallacies, and I agree that my sound levels were probably off, but I should have lowered the dude's levels a little bit to match my own, but I'll try to do better in the future. Hugh Edwards. Will they ever update their holy book to 21st century facts? Not likely. And then Nick follows up with, if they did, there would be nothing left. I think that we would probably end up with something along the lines of the Jeffersonian Bible. You know, just a book of general morals and whatnot that have no supernatural stuff in it at all or anything. Teddy Wright. Holy crap, I must be nuts. This is almost exactly what my pastor said, and I ate it up. At the time, it sounded right. Like Jesus would love me no matter what, and I should always forgive people, no matter what. Now it sounds insane. Also, Josh saying that he loves gays is just so that if he later said anything bigoted, he can say, just look at my YouTube video, I love gays. He said that in another video as well. Yeah, this is on my subversively abusive Christianity video that's about Joshua Feuerstein, where he says, I love gays, and he tells this little story about loving on a gay woman in a restaurant, because you know that's where he fucking lives all the time. freaking lives. Sorry, son. That's where he lives. Basically, is a restaurant. But but anyways, oh, okay. So, Pancake says that he was soft, I was loud. So, all right, I should have brought him up. I got it. Okay. So, but yeah, the subversively abusive Christianity. Of course, son. Um, but it's just he was doing that just so that he could play into that particular set of Christians, those Christians that want to accept, the LGBT community. He wanted to play it up for them, but then he reared his ugly head when he called that bakery, in Florida, and he got into some pretty big trouble over that. And then, there was that instance, and then there's of course the instance after, the gay marriage ruling in SCOTUS, where he revealed, that how bigoted he actually is towards the LGBT community. So,